this time. That is the greeting I choose to greet you with. There has been a lot of things going on in the Big Brother UK house, especially since the last time that we spoke, right? We have seen two people get evicted since the last time we chatted, because we had the special Halloween eviction and then the regular eviction that happened on Friday. So certainly lots to get into here. So I really don't want to waste any time. I want to hop into the entire thing. This is Consider Me Chuffed, okay? I am an American, and this is my first go at Big Brother UK. And I have to tell you something, I am anything but chuffed with what's been going on the past couple days. Now, where do we start? We saw that Hallie lost the public vote, right? Hallie was evicted from the Big Brother UK house. That was on Friday. Honestly, had a really fantastic exit as far as I was concerned. I definitely expected some more fireworks, some more carrying on and shenanigans and so forth, but that is not what we got from Miss Hallie, and I appreciated that. Certainly appreciated that. But that feels like a really, really long time ago, right? Because Big Brother put together this shopping task where you had to go into room 101 and face some of your biggest fears. Honestly, I'm not even going to run down what everybody's activity was because I thought it was kind of bullshit. Listen, I've watched some Big Brother Australia, and some people were really faced with some really scary things. Like they're true fears during challenges in there, and that is not what we got from this. Like we had people like bobbing for fish in fish guts that probably wasn't really fish guts. It looked like some kind of gelatinous mess. I don't know. Just a whole bunch of nonsense. And what was that when like Yin Run and friends were like sitting around the table and some zombie thing is banging some mallet. Boo! They ain't nothing. They ain't scary. I'm like, what is this? I don't know. Like very, very dumb. Very, very dumb. However, there were a couple of things that did happen. So they passed this shopping test, right? Like whatever, room 101, blah, 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 blah. That's really not where the fireworks came from or where anything interesting really happened, right? They kind of went off without a hitch because they did pass it. There was a group that failed. I don't even remember what the problem was. I remember that Dylan was kind of going on about how, why should the next group even bother, because, if they already failed, Dylan sucks, and we'll certainly get into a lot of the Dylan nonsense because clearly he was a major centerpiece of the nonsense that went on this week, or at least within the past couple of days. Because I have to tell you, stock in Dylan is absolutely dropping. However, some of the more noteworthy things that kind of went on was this Olivia and Yin Run thing that kind of went down in the kitchen. Yin Run went to go wash her dishes, and Olivia started to get upset because now we're going to be putting freshly washed dishes on top of the half-dried dishes that she had washed earlier. Now complain that this is this is now going to be a situation where she was going to have to like re-dry some dishes and doing something else, and like. So she kind of snapped at Yin Run in this moment and like later tried to kind of like gloss over it as if like this wasn't really about Yin Run and this was really just about how she should allow other people to do certain things. Other people should be cleaning. Other people should be washing these dishes. And to me, this felt extremely performative. Like, I feel like that the public is viewing Yin Run as a very pure, genuine, sweet soul. And you just snapped at her. Right, wrong, or indifferent, like really not. Honestly, I mean, listen. If I was Olivia, I might be a little annoyed too. Okay, I might have been a little annoyed, because I don't want you to put these wet dishes on top of ones that I already washed. Like, what? And that feels like double work. If I have to like re-dry things, the whole reason I left it on the rack is because I'm expecting nature to run its course. Right, I want it to air dry. I want that to be the situation. So for you to now put some wet dishes on top of that, kind of negating my efforts, I would be annoyed too. Does that necessarily mean that I would have snapped the way that she did? No. And then she tried to cover it up as if like she wasn't really mad at Yin Run. She just wants, oh, you should allow other people to kind of do these things. It just kind of felt not genuine. Just apologize for the fact that you were a little cross with her and let it go. You know what I mean? So there's that on Miss Olivia. Then there was another situation that, when I was watching Big Brother late and live, and this was kind of downplayed a little bit, but I don't think that it should be. We had Olivia, Paul, and I think it was Tom, who is now throwing lettuce on Kerry while she was in the bed. And they thought this was like something that was like really, really funny or something. Like, I don't really know why it was funny. I wouldn't find you throwing food at me, no matter where I am, humorous. I especially don't find it funny when I'm laying in bed. And with food being such a hot button issue in the house, I'm not exactly sure why you would be so wasteful. Like, it came up on Late and Live by, Miss Ma'am that sat on the left. I don't know her name. She was like, "Oh, I would just eat the lettuce." Honey, stop it. Stop acting like this behavior was okay. It wasn't. It wasn't. And for one of the only times like, where I would have felt that Carrie would have been justified in a tantrum, she didn't throw one. So whatever. So there's that. I felt like that was at least worth mentioning. Now, before we actually got to room 101, we saw our house guests sitting at this table. They could have been 101. I don't know. They were sitting at some table and there's a Ouija board. And then we were going to be conjuring the souls and spirits of freshly departed house guests. So first up was Farida, and now each one of these house guests had a special message like to share with the rest of the house. And Farida said that someone is manipulating the younger housemates who are following them like sheeps. Okay. Um, I guess not sheeps, right? Because sheep is already plural. Or is it? No. Well, yes, it's I guess it's singular and plural, right? Look at that sheep, right? Because it's not a shep, right? So look at the sheep. Look at the sheep. Singular and plural. I didn't mess that up. Don't try me. So anyway, that's what Farida had to say. And of course, there was a lot of back and forth on who this was intended for. Is it Carrie? Is it Dylan? Carrie most certainly thinking it was about her because of some of the previous beef that they had in the house, before Farida left us. So that was interesting. Obviously, those answers came to us in the subsequent Late and Live, and we did come to find out that Farida was indeed speaking about Carrie. Not a big shocker. That's not exactly something that I've seen, or that certainly wasn't my perception. So I would certainly love if somebody could give me some insight on that one. Is there something on the feeds that maybe I missed because I have not been watching the feeds? So there's that. Zach appeared to us and said that someone is acting quiet and whispering in people's ears. I thought that was interesting. Immediately, my head went to Yin Run. Found out on Late and Live that it was not Yin Run. He was actually talking about Chanel, which, again, I haven't really seen her as a gossiper, so certainly interested to get a little bit more insight and some context to those comments. I wonder why he thought that. Maybe I should go back and watch his Late and Live. I have to cough. I'll mute myself to be considerate. Okay, so there's that. Next up, obviously, we saw Hallie, and Hallie commented that someone is very two-faced, talking about you behind your back, but nice to your face. I didn't know who this might have been about. It was revealed on Late and Live that it was indeed Jordan, which I found a little surprising. And I will say that I agree with, Mrs. Lady Ma'am that was on the Late and Live, who had said that this was complete bollocks, right? She said, like, no way. Jordan has always been very upfront, saying who he doesn't like, who he's not digging. So, like, I have to say that I feel like I kind of agree with this. So, like, I'm not really sure what to make of that. But hey, this was Hallie's experience, right? This was Hallie's experience. So after that, Big Brother had asked for someone to go to the diary room. Noki immediately ran there, right? Wanted to be the one selected for whatever it was that this was. And Big Brother informed her that she would be possessed. We didn't know what that meant. We just knew that she had to select somebody else to go on this special task with her. And at some point in the middle of the night, they needed to get up, remove themselves from the bedroom, go into the bathroom, and say Halloween 3 times, and a secret passage would reveal itself. Very fun, very fun. We love twists like this. So she selects Trish to go on this journey with her. Um, so obviously it was Noki that was originally selected for this whole thing, right? But it was Trish that she selected to do the jam with her. Um, so there's that. So they go. They come now to find out that once they got in the room, they had to now select three people that would be nominated for eviction, for a special eviction on Halloween. Okay, so like very, very fun. Noki took the approach of saying, listen, there's three nominees here. So why don't I pick one, you pick one, and then we'll come to a consensus for that third person. So Noki selected Dylan, which really got no objections from Trish. Trish selected Olivia, which was an interesting choice, because Noki has been sharing a bed with Olivia. They certainly appeared to be very, very close, but that didn't matter. Like Noki did not put up a fight with this. She just said, whatever reasons that you have, she just said that was a very interesting observation of yours. And she heard Trish out and she allowed that nomination to stand. And I thought that was the best way to handle this. You guys decided that this is how we were going to handle this situation and make these nominations, and we stuck to it. Because at the end of the day, we're playing a game, right? These are not really personal decisions, but I mean, obviously, those things really come to a head a little bit later. And the two of them agreed that Kerry should be selected. Um, So after all this, Dylan obviously, and I don't even remember the chain of events now because everything just happened so very quickly. Kerry was the one that was eliminated, and like not a big shock, right? Because if you're going in front of this public vote and the way that the public has been responding to Kerry always with the get Kerry out, which I think is so wild, right? That started like a little bit over a week ago, and had continued even over Hallie's eviction. I know there was a lot of chatter around, is that really what the audience was saying, and blah, blah, blah. We know it was, and I think Carrie knows it was also. And we definitely did see a shift in her behavior, as the days went on. Like she certainly knew um, that the public wanted her out. So it really didn't come as any great shock that we lost Kerry this week. So there was that. But like the big fireworks really came from, Dylan and Trish, because Dylan was very, very pissed off, basically saying like the two black people put him up. This shouldn't be. And Trish was like, well, because you're black, we shouldn't put you up. It just became this whole big back and forth. And for me, the biggest thing about this was the fact that Noki stayed silent through this entire thing. Like it was your idea that everybody got one nomination and then we had one joint one. And this was your nomination. And Trish is fighting this fight with Dylan, and you say nothing. You're completely silent through all of it, knowing that like she's basically defending you. She's fighting your fight. She should have stood up in that moment and said, hey, listen, no. It was me. And I thought it was really, really whack that she didn't do that. So all the credit that we want to give her for coming up with this very democratic, agreeable concept of how we're going to select these nominees. This was really, really weak. Noki should have stood up and said no. It was not Trish who decided these things. And like really, really threw Trish, I felt, under the bus. And the craziest thing for me was that Trish was now apologizing to Noki for putting her in a potentially like, contentious situation. Like, I hope I didn't make you feel uncomfortable. What? This was her nomination. Like the whole thing about that was like absolutely bananas to me. Absolutely bananas. And Dylan was absolutely disgusting, right? Calling her a pussy and all this other stuff. Like Dylan has absolutely got to go. Like I am so done with this man. I don't even know. I don't even really know what to say. He did apologize at the top of the next episode, which I thought was nice, but like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like when we know that the public is voting for certain people to go, anytime I see these apologies, like I want to say like, oh, everyone in the UK is just nicer than we are in America. Like, are you? Because you certainly popped off over there. And it's like, are you apologizing because you genuinely feel bad about the actions you took? Or are you apologizing because the public is watching everything and you're scared of being evicted the next time you go up. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I can't get out of my head that things are not performative. But with that, I thought that Olivia handled her nomination decently. Obviously, she was a little miffed about the entire thing, but she did still continue to share a bed with Noki. So I thought that certainly counted for something. Chanel had made some comments that she would have stood up for Jenkin if she was a part of this process, had his name come up. And it's like, and that was really in response to the fact that everyone feels that Noki did not defend Olivia in this situation. And it's like, how do you know? How do you know she didn't? You don't actually know what went on in that room. The only people who know what went on in that room is really the two of them, and I suppose Big Brother and the production team around it. But there's that. But like, I also didn't know that Chanel and Jenkin had a relationship like that. Like, that kind of surprised me that was the name she selected. But that was interesting. Um, so yeah, let me see. What else do we have? I really think that's the most of it. They did win the luxury shopping budget after this shopping task, and Olivia had really led the charge that Jenkins should be selected as the person to be responsible for the shopping, which I thought was nice, because he's certainly been, a little put off by the fact that he feels like he's being judged by some of the food that he might be eating, and he's like got him going a little hungry himself, so I'm glad that he was assertive in that manner. But when the nominations came out, it was kind of an interesting situation. We saw Jenkin and Olivia both receiving one nomination. All didn't really mean anything, because Paul received 4. That came by way of Henry, Noki, Trish, and Yin Run. Okay. Apparently, Paul is not like so fantastic in the house. I've certainly commented on here on Chuffed that don't really love his, nighttime antics. That would certainly be enough for me to nominate him. But I will say that he's enjoyable to look at. So I don't know. There's certain things you might let go. Trish received 5 nominations coming from Chanel, Dylan, Olivia, Paul, and Tom. I think that's really just a result of the fact that, that whole fight with Dylan came up, which, as a quick aside, a very, very quick aside, I don't think that it was right that Big Brother, put them in this situation and like now reveal the fact that they were possessed to everybody else. Like, that never should have happened. That should have been a secret. They certainly made these nominations with that thought in mind, that like they were going to be keeping this a secret. This is going to be private. So like, certainly not cool in that manner, rather. But anyway, Noki received 6 nominations, and that came by way of Dylan, Jenkin, Jordan, Olivia, Paul, and Tom. Again, this is just blowback from that whole Dylan thing, which I think was bullshit. They never should not have been revealed that they were the ones who were possessed. They did not ask for this special task. Well, I suppose Noki did. In a way, it was open for anyone to show up, and Noki did. So like, I don't know. I guess you did not ask for it, right? But rightfully so, Dylan received the most nominations, coming by way of Chanel, Henry, Jenkin, Tom, Noki, Trish, and Yin Run, which I thought was a very, very interesting thing as well. Obviously, again, this is also blowback for the way that you're speaking to Trish, like very disgusting, very, very gross. Like, so there's that. So this is a double eviction this week, which I'm super excited to see how that one plays out. And I guess we'll see how all that goes. I would love to see, honestly, Dylan and Paul should be the ones to go. Not that I necessarily want Paul to go yet, because again, I find him enjoyable to look at. However, with what went on this week, I don't think that Trish or Noki necessarily decide, they don't deserve to go, just based on the fact that they're only up there because they were possessed and revealed. So like, really, really not fair. That's Big Brother's fault, not theirs. So I guess that's it. Jordan, Maddie, and Henry, super annoying. Just got to throw that in there. I don't really care anymore. Like, the whole reason why this thing is a problem is because obviously Jordan likes Maddie and Jordan likes Henry. The real issue here is that Maddie sees relationships certainly different than the rest of the world does, being a polyamorous person who's open to like open relationships, right? And like, as a polyamorous person myself, we see relationships a little bit differently, which is where Maddie is able to navigate some of this much better than a Jordan or Henry. And now we're having a lot of pushback from the two of them. Jordan doesn't really know what to do. Of course, Henry is jealous. Like it's just a whole big mess. And I just think that Maddie is the one I feel like who stands to get hurt in this situation. Because I think at the end of it, Jordan is going to choose Henry. Not that Jordan is some kind of like super stud, not that Henry is either, but I think that's how this whole thing is going to end. I don't know. I'm tired of it. And we're focusing on it like far too much, and no one's really advancing. Like you got a couple of kisses like under tables and under sheets or whatever that don't really mean anything. So like I don't know. There's that whole thing. But any Hoosers, that is where we are in the Big Brother UK house. So since the last time we chatted, obviously let's recap really quick. We lost Hallie, we lost Kerry. Kerry actually had a pretty gracious exit. She put herself in that coffin and said, "Goodbye, y'all. Goodbye, y'all. I guess it's done. I enjoyed my time." I did not watch her exit interview on Late and Live. We'll be catching that a little bit later. But yeah, so that's how things ended. I'll certainly be back this weekend for some additional thoughts on our next eviction, which is a double. Super excited to see how that one plays out. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this season. If you like what I'm doing here, why don't you catch me on the full podcast? I'm from Strat Chat Pod. We're covering Big Brother 25. We're covering Survivor 45, and also the Challenge 39. So certainly lots to go on. Like we have, we're live Mondays and Thursdays. So you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Facebook too. And you can also find us after the fact on the Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts, right? We're all over the place. All right. So come find us, hang out live. We have a really good time. Thanks for watching. And you can continue to consider me chuffed.